We are live. Hey everybody, welcome to our Build Up Dietitians website. Good morning. My name is Yeli Marshall and I am going to hang out for just a second while we get some folks in the door to join us for our Facebook Live to talk about a dietitian that owns a chocolate company. So definitely not the typical path for most registered dietitians to go through. So I am happy to share a little bit of fun about what I do at my job and how I got to this position too. So I'm going to try to focus my screen so I don't look too terribly pale on it as we're talking. So feel free to share this and bring your friends in the door. We want to share with all of our friends out there some unique positions that we can have as registered dietitians in the industry. And please feel free to put your questions into the chat as we're going too, and hopefully we'll be able to have some great conversations going. And I'd love to be able to answer questions for dietitians that are up and coming in the industry about some really unique and different types of jobs that are out there, but also for dietitians that may be needing something a little bit different in their lives and hopefully might have an interest in the culinary arts too. So just a couple minutes after, so let's get it started in play. So my name is Sarabeth Yeli Marshall. I most often go by my middle name, Yeli, now. And I am a registered dietitian with, 20 plus years in the field. And I own a chocolate company. So I own a company called Yeli Belly Chocolates. We are located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. And we specialize in a lot of custom corporate chocolate gifts. We do a lot of things like logos on chocolates. And then we also do some fantastic things like bonbons and truffles, so flavor-infused chocolates that everybody loves. And we also have some proprietary products that we are actually the only ones that make them, that I'll talk a little bit about as we get going too. But I know a lot of people are kind of weirded out when I say I'm a dietitian that makes chocolate, but I haven't always been a chocolatier. I had some more traditional food service positions as I was coming up in the ranks too. And I love seeing some local Dallas folks joining us too. That's awesome. So I started off my career just like everybody else does in the nutrition industry in my undergrad. I took all of the regular classes that tended to lean a little bit more clinical in terms of telling us what a dietitian ends up doing. And I kind of enjoyed that. I enjoyed the clinical side of things, but I really found my niche in my undergrad when I took our food service management classes. And I had a fantastic instructor. Her name is Monica Tice, and she actually wrote one of the books that a lot of us use in our food service classes in our undergrad. And so she was already fired up about being in food service, and I just fed off of that. I absolutely loved it. I loved hearing about how everything can be different as a dietitian, that we don't just have, some very few options to go and play with too on the nutrition side. We can bring all of that nutrition knowledge into food service and food service management too. So that was a ton of fun to be able to find out. And I think that Monica was a great teacher and instructor, and really fed my knowledge base for wanting to do more in food service and food service management. When I went on to my internship, I actually was full bore into being a sports nutritionist, being able to play a little bit on the food service side, but then being able to, help athletes, gain the best that they can using nutrition. I was an athlete through college. I was actually on the crew team, the rowing team, and I had been an athlete all my life. And so I really loved the fact that I could help these athletes be better with nutrition. So I entered my internship in my master's degree program at Illinois State University really with the idea that I was going to be a sports nutritionist. That's what I did as my side job. That's what I did my thesis on. And I was just, this is what we're going to do. And it was at a time that there were not a lot of sports nutritionists in the game. Sorry for the pun. Nancy Clark was out there and had just published a great book about sports nutrition, but it was really still pretty new to a lot of dietitians 20 plus years ago to even consider being a part of a professional sports team or a college team or anything like that. So I was very lucky to kind of get that early peek into it. But then I had an internship rotation in child nutrition. And I was the only one in my internship class that had this opportunity to do this rotation in child nutrition. And by the end of the first day, my life was changed. I was working with a woman named Connie Broadnecks, and she was fantastic. And I just could not believe the stuff that I learned just on the first day of being, in child nutrition. It was so much fun. So I switched overnight. I went from being a sports nutritionist focus in the middle of our internship program to deciding that child nutrition was the way to go. And I was just amazed at what happens behind the scenes in child nutrition and being able to develop menus and, making our future leaders strong with nutrition, and how much fun it was. I do have to admit that I had a lot of the same eating habits of a lot of our elementary school kids. I loved the 4x6 pizza. I loved tater tots. I loved, sandwiches and stuff like that. So it was pretty easy for me to be able to transition what, in my brain as a dietitian, what's healthy into those menus for kids. So that kind of started a 15-year career for me as a child nutrition specialist and a director of child nutrition. And I loved it. I really wish that more dietitians knew about child nutrition food service as an option for work, because it's fun being the queen of the lunch ladies. I mean, it's not all making mashed potato molds and, secret meat casseroles and stuff like that. We had shrimp at our schools. We had gourmet pizza, beautiful salad bars, and my staff loved our kids so much. Not only were they moms and dads in the district, but they really put so much into their food every day, really, wanting to make sure that those kids had the best start and the best continuation through the day to become just the best kids they could be in the district. So I really loved working in child nutrition. One thing that made me leave, though, unfortunately, was a lot of the politics that happen in a school district, and that did make me kind of sad. A lot of the kind of things that happen behind the scenes and upper management and all of that. That did make me switch positions, and I went into teaching for a couple of years, and I was a professor at a local college here. So Professor Yeli taught dietetic technicians all about food and nutrition, and that was a lot of fun too. But it really kind of wasn't my niche yet. I really hadn't found what I wanted to really love about the field of nutrition. I really loved child nutrition, and I was very sad to leave that behind, but I was still kind of searching for where I could get my creativity out. So at about the same time that I started doing my child nutrition work, I started playing with chocolate as a hobby. So I was married to a chef, and we had been on this wonderful trip overseas where I got introduced to some really unique flavor-infused chocolates, and I kind of brought that back home with me and just started playing with it. And I think a lot of us as dietitians have some type of side hobby that we like to play with a little bit, whether it's in food or in teaching or something like that. So creating confections and getting to share that with people was generally something that I didn't get to do in my work as a child nutrition director. So I would bring work home with me, and I would bring home to work with me. So I would make chocolate and I would bring it to work regularly. And I don't know that I had to force my staff to try the flavors, but maybe a little arm twisting to help me out on tasting different chocolates that I made. But I don't think that many people complained too much about the fact that I was bringing chocolate to work on a daily basis. And that little hobby stayed a hobby for a number of years. I started in 2006 just kind of making chocolate for fun, and it stayed a hobby for many years as I kept in my work as a dietitian. And I wish I had changed sooner. Not that I didn't love the work I did as a child nutritionist or a child nutrition director, but I didn't feel that I could change. I didn't feel that anyone was okaying me to change as a dietitian and look at another type of job, specifically in the culinary industry. I really felt that so much of what I learned as a dietitian was I could be clinical or community or food service, but food service management. You didn't get to play with the food. You didn't get to make the food. You didn't get to be a chef and a dietitian. And that was kind of frustrating because I didn't feel that I was encouraged at a time that I really could have grown a lot earlier in my career as a chocolatier. So it stayed a hobby for many years until I had been in a position that made me cry every day. And it was just a very sad position that I had with a nonprofit that I really wanted to love, but there was just a lot of stuff going on in the background. And my husband said, why don't you try doing chocolate? You know, that makes you happy and you have all this experience. Why don't you try doing that? And I thought, well, I'd love to, but that's not what a dietitian does. A dietitian doesn't make chocolate. So it was hard for me to decide to make that transition. But what I really learned when I got fully into the field was that I could use all of my experience as a dietitian, from my food science experience, to my menu building, to my flavor profile, to my management. I mean, all of that I actually do use on a daily basis and have the opportunity to be, you know, a dietitian, but not in that typical clinical setting, which, you know, a lot of us, that's all we get told in our undergrad is this is what you're going to do. And there's so many wonderful opportunities, and clinical dietitians do so much more than what we see in just our, you know, typical undergrad experience too. It really isn't until that internship that you get an inkling as to where you can go as a dietitian. It's not, you know, it's not always what the book work tells us, it's what the in-person work tells us too. So that was very exciting for me to learn, but it took a long time to be able to get there. So I left my corporate job as a dietitian, and I want to say it was about 2013 or 14, I think, and then just decided to open a chocolate company. It was terrifying because I wasn't an entrepreneur. I had always worked for someone else, but I had this heart of an entrepreneur that was never allowed to fully expand while I worked for someone else. So I opened my first chocolate store in Southlake, Texas, and in 2014, and started selling chocolate just to the masses. And honestly, the first people that bought all of our chocolate were friends and family that, you know, they were actually staff of mine that came from my child nutrition department, came and bought our chocolate. It was friends of mine around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and my family. I had a lot of great support, and definitely couldn't have done it without all of those folks coming and supporting me in those first few years. And you know, the fun thing about it is that it was still being a dietitian. You know, I still used all of my knowledge on a daily basis, and I still do. I get to be creative with food. I get to develop menus and recipes and things like that, but I get to eat chocolate every day, which is not so bad either. And I get to show as a dietitian that all foods can fit, that there is everything in moderation, all foods can fit, everything is good to be able to be eaten together. So, you know, of course, we are surrounded by artisan chocolate all day long. I have this crazy weakness for Reese's peanut butter cups though. So it's one of those things that I admit to, it's not a great chocolate, but it's one of those things that I feel that, you know, kind of like the Michelin star chef that probably eats McDonald's on the way home. You know, there's some of us around here that do stuff like that. So I love the fact that I can create chocolates, I can make people happy, but I can also show as a dietitian that all of this is okay. And people shouldn't be afraid of enjoying dessert and having things in moderation and, you know, and trying something new too. So I agree, there's no bad foods out there, there's only bad diets. Neva, I completely agree with you and your comment there too. So I get a little bit of a question about what do I like best about it? Well, I like the creativity. Our chocolate company mostly focuses on custom corporate gifts. So like I said, we do a lot of chocolates like this with custom corporate logos on chocolates for folks to give as gifts and to literally keep your company's name on the tip of your client's tongue, we like to say. But not only that, we make new things every day. So even for our team here of chocolatiers, everything that we do on a daily basis is different. We're not cranking out the same mint flavor, orange flavor, same color bonbon every day that a lot of traditional stores do. We really moved into an area of doing production and making sure that we make our corporate clients and our wholesale clients and our private clients happy. So I did keep that storefront for about 3 years, and then I decided I'm not really having a lot of fun selling one box at a time to a retail client that comes in when I'm selling 100 boxes out the back door to one of my wholesale or to my corporate clients. So I really had so much fun being able to transition to our production facility where we can be creative every day. This is the most dressed up I ever get. I put makeup on for you guys today and a clean chef jacket. Normally we're all in, scrubs and t-shirts because we're just cranking chocolate out every day. So I get to have a lot of fun creating new things on a daily basis. So we've created some really unique chocolates that have won us awards nationally. Habanero infused chocolates, spicy chocolates, some really unique gift options too that nobody else is making. And some of that is just being able to be in my creative space and utilize my experience in food science, which comes into play every single day, to create something new. So I see one of the questions that I have in the chat is, what is our most popular chocolate? I would say by far our chocolate covered Oreos. So I studied for years to be able to make beautiful bonbons and truffles like this. So the traditional flavor infused chocolates that people are used to seeing on the shelf. Chocolate shell with a soft ganache in the center with flavors in it. And these are the artisan chocolates. These are the ones that take 3 days to make. But to be completely honest, chocolate covered Oreos pay the rent. And that's because people love Oreos, people love that, and we put a good chocolate on it and we screen print in colored chocolate too. So it's a unique way for people to be able to enjoy chocolates on their own too. Some of the things that are growing for us though are some of the proprietary things that we've been able to develop here that nobody else is making. One of the things that we've developed is called, let me see if I can get that on camera nicely, is called Cococino. Cococino is a unique aerated disc of chocolate that will float on top of a cappuccino, a mocha, or a latte. So it's beautifully decorated on top. So that's the decoration actually on the chocolate there. And it will float there on your coffee, and as you sip it, your sip grabs a little bit of chocolate off the bottom of the disc and slowly infuses your sip with chocolate. So instead of stirring like an artificially flavored syrup or something into your coffee or even into your mocha or hot chocolate, this adds a really delicious, fair trade, sustainable, dark chocolate into your mouth with every little sip. And so we have a lot of fun with playing with things like that. And I saw another question come up. Do we have any other RDs on staff? I don't have any other dietitians on staff besides myself as the owner. Actually, none of our staff that currently work for us actually even started out as a chocolatier. I've actually taken a cake decorator, someone who was a food service manager at like Five Guys and Starbucks, someone who worked for Vitamin Shop as a retail manager, and turned them into chocolatiers. So I find that there's a lot of unique experiences that each person has at their own previous jobs that lends them to being able to work well in our kitchen here, so that I don't have a team full of pre-trained chocolatiers. I train them all myself to do things the way that we like to do, and also to be able to make the things that we make and hold on to that little bit of creativity that comes from outside of the industry too. So I would love to actually share more of that too, and see more dietitians come into the culinary side, because there is a lot of space for us here as dietitianists or nutritionists or people with food service backgrounds and food science backgrounds into the culinary world. You don't have to be a classically trained chef, a pastry chef or otherwise, to really understand how the culinary arts works and what you can bring into the industry as a dietitian or a nutritionist. Really does a lot to be able to add something extra to your product that may not already be there too. So I love those questions. That's fantastic. What do I like best about it? What do I like best about my job is being creative every day. Doing something different every day, creating new chocolates, making new clients happy, and I love teaching. one of the things that became really a strong revenue generator for us during the COVID lockdown was the fact that we already taught classes, and we taught classes virtually and in person. So when everything went on lockdown, our class virtual list just blew up. And all of a sudden, all of our corporate clients that we used to go to teach or would come to our facility here to teach, we actually went to them virtually. So we developed chocolate tasting classes that we already had in person and sent them out virtually, hands-on chocolate making classes where you could make chocolate with your teammates at home over Zoom with us live. And that was a huge pivot for us to being mostly in person and some virtual to doing almost everything virtual. But now, instead of having just clients here in the DFW area, we were getting clients all over the United States and internationally. So we've done classes for Google headquarters out in California, Facebook headquarters, companies out in New York, and companies like eBay and Pandora and kind of those big names that a lot of people know. And a lot of that happened because we were good at what we did, that we didn't try to get into a space that we weren't familiar with. Our pivot was within our wheelhouse, and it's something that we still do really good. And a lot of companies aren't going back to fully in person, and we recognize that. So while we are ready to do some classes in person again, we know some of our clients are going to stay virtual within their jobs, and a lot of our clients that are naturally on the internet already, social media wise, like Facebook and Google, have said they're not going back in a complete in person for everybody. So we will continue to see some of these virtual classes continue for us, which is fantastic, because I absolutely love teaching about chocolate and nutrition. But I do like the fact that that people are recognizing that maybe in person isn't best for every type of job, and that a lot of us can be very successful working virtually also. So I absolutely love that little aspect of being able to transition our company to expand it a little bit more. So a question I see in the chat is, are you a member of any associations that have helped you with your career path? Yes, and I've changed some of those associations as my career has changed. I was a part of, obviously, the American Dietetic Association and all of that when it was just the American Dietetic Association, and part of that was the interaction with dietitians and being able to work in those DPG groups, those dietetic practice groups, and learn more about what other dietitians did other than what I had already experienced. And that was really helpful to me because I met dietitians who were chefs, and I met dietitians who had been in different levels of food service management, and that was truly unique too, to be able to say, oh, there's more options for me out here. I can continue to grow. If I want to stay in my position that I've learned about, that's fantastic, and that's comfortable for me. But if I want to do something different and continue to grow, absolutely there are other options out there for me as a dietitian. So a lot of the dietetic practice groups were very helpful for me to be able to find a little bit more about what I can do with my position as a dietitian in food service management and in the culinary arts also. Also being a part of chef groups, both locally here in Dallas and nationally, has helped. For me personally, my food science background is a little bit stronger than my culinary arts and has a little bit more interest to me. So also being a part of IFT, the Institute of Food Technologists, those are all food science folks. Meat science, food science, all of that, and those were my people. And so I loved being able to go to IFT and be able to talk food science to people and relate it back to nutrition for myself, and then carry it forward as someone in the culinary arts and working in the confectionery industry too. Question is, have I ever mentored RDs? I have. I've been a preceptor when I was back in my child nutrition position, and I've also talked to young dietitians or dietitians looking for a career change in the culinary arts too, and different types of paths that you can take. chocolate for me was a hobby, and so it was naturally a transition for me, but sometimes that's not a natural hobby for someone as a dietitian who's interested in culinary arts too. So there's a lot of different things you can do, classes that you can take to just kind of give you a little bit of a nibble on what is available to you, in your field, and also be able to say, here's a little bit more that you can do with your degrees along with something that might be a fantastic hobby for you too. Question, where can I find you on social media? We are all over social media. I have done something good for our company, and I hired a millennial who knows way more about social media than I do as a Gen Xer. So we are on Facebook. You'll find us at Yeli Belly Chocolates, and I have tagged that in the beginning of our chat here today. On Instagram, you can find us at Yeli Chocolate, so just Y-E-L-I Chocolate. And of course, our website, you can stalk us on our website and drool all over your keyboard. And that is yelibelly.com, and it's YELIBELLY.com. And I also wanted to share in the chat, the beginning of the Facebook Live on top, there is a discount code. If you want to be able to order something from our website too, you can. There is a discount code for 10% off any of your orders, and also discounted shipping. And the discount code to put in is Build Up RD. So BUILDUPRD, Build Up RD. And you guys can support a small business, keep us off the street, keep us busy making chocolate, and also be able to enjoy some delicious treats on your own too. Another question that came into me is, what advice would I give students or RDs that are interested in becoming more of a culinary specialist or in the culinary nutrition direction? I would start off by taking some classes. For me, I am all about taking classes either online or in person. So it was very helpful for me to be able to, go into a classroom and say, I like learning a little bit more about the culinary arts, but bring my nutrition expertise and perspective into that also. So checking out local culinary schools or checking out even online chocolate schools are available. Ecole, E-C-O-L-E, is an online chocolate school, which is one that I took classes from many years ago, back in 2008, and it's some really great hands-on opportunities that you can do at your own pace at home. You don't have to be in a lab, on campus. These are things that you can actually do on your own at home. And I found that those were really helpful in making me see, is this the path that I want to go on? Is this something that I want to continue down? But I'm also happy to share any of that information or guide someone in that direction too. So please feel free to reach out to me. You can go through our website and our contact form on our website. You could also email us directly. Our email address is all over our website at yelibelly.com. And you can actually, don't feel bad about asking any of those questions of maybe where you are as a dietitian or a nutritionist is not where you want to be, or you've done this for X number of years and you want to try something different. No one should ever feel bad about that. And I think that's something that I had to get over as a dietitian, is that I went to school, in my undergrad and graduate school and my internship, and I have all these degrees on the walls that are telling me to just be a dietitian. And the fact was, I could be a dietitian in other areas. And I do feel that it's safe to say that now, and I didn't feel that support always. So I would definitely love to encourage other RDs or nutritionists that want to try something different. I am very happy to help folks on that path of finding something that might be a little bit more interesting in their field, or just a new way to use your skills. Because like I said, I use my food science skills every day, and they've definitely grown even stronger since I have left that more traditional job as a dietitian too. Question from Noreen: what is my favorite chocolate to eat? My personal favorite chocolate of what we make, this is chocolate crack for us, but I got into panning a few years ago, and panning is the art of making things like chocolate covered espresso beans, chocolate covered hazelnuts, chocolate covered nuts, all of that chocolate covered stuff. It's a whole other area of the world of chocolate that is difficult to do. It takes a lot of attention and concentration and knowing your product and feeling it and seeing it, and it's not something that you can just have a recipe for. So making these types of chocolate products has been my new hobby on the side of working in our company here, and I'm addicted to them. My favorite is a caramelized hazelnut that is then coated in milk chocolate and fouilletine. And fouilletine is a French biscuit that's crumbled up. So it has layers and layers of this crunchy milk chocolate. It is just absolutely my favorite thing. And as we've been working on the panning here, I've had to make sure that we box them up right away, because they would just be sitting on the tray and I would just walk by and just start snacking on them. And my staff do tease me that as a dietitian, I have the worst eating habits possible. I am a Diet Coke drinker and was eating handfuls of chocolate covered hazelnuts for days. But again, everything in moderation, everything has its place, no food is bad. But you know, it's one of those things that I have to get it out of my face. I have to get it away from me so that I don't just continue to snack on it all day long too. And Noreen, to your second question, my husband being a chef, so that was husband number one. I'm on husband number two. Not that there's a collection of them, but I'm just on husband number two now. My first husband is a chef and still is. He never did work for me, actually. He was a savory chef. All of his interest was specifically in sauces, soups, and meats and things like that. He never even made cookies at home or did any types of baking. So for me, it was building up my company on the chocolate side was completely on my shoulders to do. He helped every once in a while with some flavor tasting and things like that, but was never really interested in working for my company at all. My husband now, my current husband, is a police officer and a police detective, and so he doesn't have anything to do with my company either, except sampling chocolate when I bring it home. So a lot of this has been, you know, built on my own with support from my family to do these things. But a lot of it is just trial and error on my own, and then using my experience from food science and in food service to really make some fantastic flavor profiles for our company too. And let me see what else we've got here in questions. Please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. I'd love to be able to answer. I'm a couple minutes over already. I hope that's okay with Build Up Dietitians. But I do want to share that if you guys have any interest in finding out more about what you can do in the culinary world, how you can play as a dietitian, or just want to throw some ideas off of someone that's kind of outside of the traditional field, thank you so much for just considering to reach out to me, because I really would love to help anyone answer those questions. And if I can't answer those questions for you, I know some fantastic chefs that would love to be able to bring a dietitian into the industry with our experience that we have in food science and nutrition. So if I don't know the answer, I will find out the person that does. So please feel free to follow us on our social media. Yeli Belly Chocolates is our company, and let me see if I can pull up that name again there. So feel free to follow us. I would absolutely love to have some new dietitians be a part of us too. And you know, feel free again to reach out. I'd love to answer those questions that you have for us too. I did see a last question I'll answer real quick, which is one of my favorites. How many hours do you work a week? Way too many. As a small business owner, way too many hours, but at the same time, I work for myself. So everything that I put into my business, every hour I put into my business is growing our company, and so that is extraordinarily rewarding. Our company though is 9 to 5, and so our staff are generally not working nights and weekends. So that's kind of one of the benefits of working on the dietitian side in food service management and owning your own company, is that you know, you get to set your own hours too. Incredibly stressful. My day is like this on a regular basis, ups and downs, but incredibly rewarding. So please feel free to reach out. Again, I'd love to be able to connect some of you to some fantastic chocolate, or just some answers for dietitians in the industry wanting to learn a little bit more. So thank you so much for hanging around with us today, and definitely use that code that you guys have on the website. If you do want to reach out for your own corporate gifts for your company, I will definitely offer a generous discount if you come and let us know that you heard from Yeli on Build Up Dietitians. A generous discount for any corporate holiday gifts that you guys want to put together. So feel free to reach out, and I look forward to working with you. Hopefully you got some good knowledge, and I look forward to getting you all a little chocolate wasted in the future. Thanks so much, guys, and have a great day.